Well,
Yeah.
nice to see your face after talking
Yeah.
to you on Instagram.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just kind of want this to be like a casual talk about your second journey because I
Mhm.
have been following, I have known you since your first journey, although I wasn't very active on social media, so I didn't really reach out. But I thought, oh my gosh, like you have the balls to go fit to fat to 40. And for those, I am recording right now, by the way. For those
Okay,
of
cool.
you who don't know who Drew Manning is, do you live under a rock? He has gone from being a super fit personal trainer, and then he gained I think 40 pounds or more than that,
75.
75 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Went from fit to fat and then back to fit again. This was many years previous. And now he's about to turn 40 and he's doing it again. And this time it's going to be different because it's going to be documented and there's more social media around this. So I was super duper intrigued and I thought, oh my goodness, I am really curious. I had like a million questions in my head, like, why are you doing it again? And what is it like
Mhm.
doing it again? And you're a father now, and all these questions. So I decided to reach out to him. And to my surprise, somebody as big as you actually replied. And I thought, wow, wow, thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. And one thing that really stood out to me with you is leading with empathy, because I know that
Yeah.
you said when you're in your first time, the reason why you even did Fit to Fat to 40 was because you wanted to understand what your clients were going through. You didn't understand, some of the things that they were telling you. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's just the whole ordeal about
Mhm.
how I discovered Drew and how I discovered you and how I am intrigued by what you do. So for those of you who don't know you, why don't
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so most people know me from Fit to Fat to Fit, which is what I did in 2011. But before that, I grew up my entire life in shape. Like I played American football and wrestling from a very young age, so I was super active. I grew up in a family of 11 brothers and sisters, and we all played sports. And so for me, being active was part of my lifestyle. And so being in shape kind of came naturally for me and was kind of easy. In 2009, I became a trainer, and here I was, someone who had never been overweight a day in my life trying to help people who were overweight the majority of their life. And so there was a huge disconnect when I started training my clients. Like I couldn't figure out why it was so hard for them just to stay consistent until, I did my Fit to Fat to Fit journey. But I was, one of my clients told me, Drew, you don't understand what it's like for us, for people like me, that were larger. And I agreed. I was like, you know what? I don't understand. So this idea of getting fat on purpose entered my mind, and I felt almost called to do this. And so what I decided to do was for 6 months, let myself go completely, no exercise, unrestricted diet, ate a bunch of like standard American processed food, gained 75 pounds in 6 months, documented my journey on my website and my YouTube channel. And that story went viral and it just kind of blew up. And people are like, what is this guy doing? Like, why is he doing it? So I went on a bunch of TV shows, wrote a book about it, ended up losing the weight. But the biggest lesson I learned from that first experience was how much of transformation is mental and emotional. And so that was the biggest thing that was like my aha moment for me as a trainer. Was I had so much focus before on the physical aspect of weight loss. Now I could better understand that mental and emotional side to help people with a true lifestyle change. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm doing it again now. But since then, I wrote that first book. I wrote a second book. And I've had my own TV show. I had 2 seasons of my own TV show. So that's a little bit about me.
Mm. Did you know after doing the first time that you were going to do it a second time?
No, I thought for sure never again. I couldn't come up with a reason. Why would I ever do this again? It was way hard, first of all. And two, I learned the lessons I needed to learn from that first experiment. And it taught me a lot of valuable lessons. So I never thought I would do it again.
Mm. And what was the hardest part about re-losing the weight?
Losing the weight, the hardest part for me was the emotional attachment to food. And that's one thing I think people who have never struggled with food addiction or being overweight is the emotional attachment to food is really powerful, more powerful than people think. because what I've learned over the years is that people numb themselves with all kinds of substances, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, TV, social media, whatever it is. Like we numb ourselves from emotional trauma or challenges with these substances because they make us feel good temporarily. And so we create that programming in our brain to repeat that pattern anytime we have stresses or hard times or, any kind of emotions. We usually numb our emotions with some type of pain, or not some type of pain, but some type of substance, whether it's food, and for a lot of people, right? And so that was one of the biggest lessons, and that was one of the hardest parts, was overcome that emotional attachment to food.
Well, now that you have let go of the reins, so to speak, do you feel like you still use food as an emotional clutch, or do you have it so much in excess now that it's not that appealing anymore?
It's interesting. It's kind of like having Christmas every morning.
That's
No, I do find myself emotionally eating, especially with like stress of like 2020 is a very stressful year. Elections just happened here in the United States. And so like the stress of life, definitely I find myself gravitating towards those substances like ice cream or cake or whatever it is. Because I'm on my journey. Normally when I'm living a healthy lifestyle, I have healthier treats every now and then, or sometimes I'll allow myself to have that food. But usually, I don't have those types of foods in the house to tempt me, so that when I am feeling emotionally triggered, I don't have ice cream in the freezer. I have to like go out of my way to get it. Normally I'm aware enough to know when those triggers are happening. And there's other methods that I've used, like meditation or exercise or journaling, and walking outside in nature is really healing for that.
Okay. So it sounds like you had other outlets. Are you still tapping into those outlets, or are you more allowing yourself to have those foods because you're on this journey again?
Good question. I still meditate every day. I still journal and do a gratitude list every day. That seems to help me a little bit stay grounded. But I'll be honest with you, like there's moments where I could be doing all that stuff. It's kind of like comparing it to like a building that's on fire. And meditation and prayer and gratitude list, like those are little buckets of water that help a little bit, but it doesn't put out the fire, because I'm eating junk food, I'm sleeping horribly, I'm not exercising, I'm not getting outside in nature.
Right.
So I could be doing all those little things like meditation and stuff like that, but ultimately it's been a lot harder than I remember, to be honest with you.
Oh, interesting. It kind of sounds like you are putting yourself on fire and then trying to put out the fire, but then you're kind of just
Yeah, exactly.
fire again with the
It's very true. That's very true. It's a good
Okay.
perception.
Well, speaking of routines, what is a typical day in your life like? From the moment
Right
you wake
now.
up to the moment you go to bed.
Okay, so a typical day for me right now on my Fit to Fat to 40 journey is I'll wake up and I'll make my coffee first thing in the morning. And as I'm drinking
Or
my
I've seen your coffee.
coffee,
I've seen your
what's
coffee.
that?
I've seen the
Yeah.
things you put in your coffee. It's amazing. I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
that's creamy.
Yeah, all types of creamers, like junk, lots of sugar in my coffee, which will be interesting when I go back to Fit. I'll have to go back to black coffee. I'm sure my taste buds won't like that. But I'll add lots of cream, and then I'll have like, a bowl of cereal, some Pop-Tarts, and a bagel, and some juice. And then, for lunch, for a snack in between, I'll have like a couple of granola bars, a soda, and some chips. And then for lunch, I'll have like maybe like 3 or 4 frozen burritos, and another glass of juice. And then a snack between lunch and dinner is, maybe a couple peanut butter sandwiches, peanut butter and honey, or peanut butter and jelly. And then for dinner is like a huge plate of pasta and pizza. And then for dessert, some type of ice cream or cookie or something sugary. And, I get some work done in there. I have podcasts I have to do. I have content I have to film, things I have to write for my, for my social media, and responding to messages, and all kinds of business calls and stuff like that.
Is it harder to concentrate and go about your entrepreneurial journey with your, with everything that you're eating?
Yeah, really good question. It really is. And this is the connection I want to make for people, is have people be more aware of, when you live this type of sedentary lifestyle, it affects you in so many other ways than you think. Like a lot of people think, oh, if I eat junk food and don't exercise, I just get fat. But it affects you so much more than that, because it affects your sleep, how you sleep. And when your sleep is affected, your hormones shift. So when you have a hormonal shift, you're not the same version of yourself. You're more emotional, you're more reactive, your ability to handle stress isn't what it was. You're more exhausted throughout the day, you have brain fog, lethargy, and digestive issues. And so your ability to be as efficient is not what it used to be. And so, when you're dealing with clients or when you're dealing with your kids or your spouse or whoever, those types of relationships are affected by primarily the food you eat and the exercise that you give or don't give your body, and it carries over into other areas, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And I know that you mentioned somewhere on your Instagram stories, you're not sleeping well. So in those cases, do you ever find yourself waking up to pass time or curb hunger with eating, like nighttime eating, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., that kind of stuff?
That's happened before, and I have a tough time falling asleep if I am really hungry. So I have to go to bed on at least a medium to full stomach. Otherwise, I won't be able to fall asleep. I've noticed that. So yes, that happens sometimes.
Was that the case beforehand as well when you were fit?
No, I usually only eat 2 meals a day when I'm fit. And I go to bed a little bit hungry. I'm usually fine. And the thing that is happening is I'm eating a lot of processed carbohydrates, which spike my blood sugar levels and then crash. And then when you repeat that cycle, it kind of exhausts your body and sometimes will wake you up in the middle of the night when your blood sugar is really low. So that's one of the things for people to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people who experience that wake up in the middle of the night and then
Yeah.
they can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So tell me about your philosophy with fitness coaching.
Yeah, so it's evolved over the years, first of all, and that's why I have this shirt, empathy first. It's kind of in part, with my brand, Fit to Fit to Fit, and I'm on a mission to bring empathy to the fitness industry, and I believe empathy can be a game changer in this industry, and I believe can really shift people's mindset when it comes to health and fitness, because most people's perception of success in this industry is getting skinny, getting the six pack, and getting the perfect body. And then once you achieve that, all your problems go away, and then people will love you. Then you'll love yourself, and that's kind of our people's perception, right? And so over the years, I've upgraded my philosophy about that. And I think the biggest thing that people struggle with, honestly, is why they can't seem to have the discipline or the willpower to stay consistent. And this is the dots I'm trying to connect for them, is make them aware of, until you deal with these mental and emotional traumas that you have been holding on to for some time, those things manifest themselves in a physical form sometimes of weight gain or overeating or self-sabotage or emotional eating. And people don't really make that connection. They just think, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, I can't figure out how to stay consistent with my diet, or I can't figure out how to stay consistent in the gym because I lose my motivation, or I give up too easy, or I get too stressed out with life, or I don't have any time, right? There's all these types of things that happen. And so my hope is to, one, help people become more self-aware so that they know what their emotional triggers are, so that they know in those moments when they want to reach for the pizza, they want to reach for the glass of wine, okay, what does that stem from? And most of the time, it's a pattern that we've created over time to deal with stress and numb that stress with some type of substance like wine or alcohol, some type of food or drugs or whatever it is. And it's about becoming aware of what is that trigger and why is that triggering you, and what is it from maybe your past you haven't let go of yet. And so my philosophy is, if we could lead with empathy first, people, they don't care how much you know as a trainer, as a coach, as a leader, influencer, until they know how much you care first.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing with empathy is once they feel understood, then they're going to be more willing to listen and put in the hard work. But until then, it feels like judgment. It feels divisive. It feels like this person doesn't get me. This person's had a six pack their whole life. What do they know about being overweight? What do they know about emotional eating? And there's just this division that exists. And I feel like empathy can cross that division and bridge that gap, if you will. And so that's kind of what Fit to Fit is all about, and this whole movement is about.
I love that. I love that so much, because I can really resonate with empathy as being, I think just from personal experience, the way you're able to change yourself or inspire change in anybody else, whether that be fitness related or not, is really through kindness, is really through extending a hand. And whether or not they are able to receive it and grab that hand or not is up to them. But when you're able to meet them halfway, they're a lot more willing to hear you out, and they're a lot more willing to help themselves out.
Yeah,
So
so
I
true.
I love that. I love that so much. I think that is what really gravitated me towards you, because
Thank you.
from the outside, somebody looking at you, they're thinking, oh, he's hardcore. What does he know?
Yeah.
He's like that go. What does he know about, the feminine energy of making manifesting things,
Yeah.
right? So I know that you do mention empathy, but when is it appropriate to have tough love? And is
Yeah.
it ever appropriate to have tough love? How do we balance the two? When do we balance the two?
Yeah, I think empathy is one of those things that true empathy has both of those sides to it, to be honest with you. Empathy with boundaries is more so what would be appropriate for the situation. But yeah, I think some people need a kick in the butt every once in a while and some tough love, because if it's empathy without boundaries, it becomes enabling. And so that's kind of the biggest thing that I think if you're a coach and influencer, you need to understand the difference between just having empathy and having no boundaries and just empathizing with them, but no boundaries there. It just becomes enabling for that person until every once in a while, people do need a kick in the pants, to be honest with you. But it needs to be a balance of that. It can't just be one way or the other. Some people do gravitate towards the tough love approach, like the Jillian Michaels of the
Yep, the
world, like
strong.
this hardcore. Yeah, some people, vibe with that and it works for them. But I think the vast majority of people are kind of turned off by that, where they're like, okay, that's a little bit militant for me, a little bit too hardcore for me. I think most people kind of fall into the category of needing empathy, but with a little kick in the pants every once in a while, some tough love, if you will, to get them motivated. But I think empathy first is one of the things that we haven't really tried. The kick in the butt has happened lots of times, I'm sure, from their parents or coaches or whoever. Why not try empathy first? And then from there, we could talk about tough love.
Mm, that's true. Very,
Yeah.
very, very true. Have you ever, in your time when coaching clients, have you ever come across the victim mentality to a point where you feel like you're getting frustrated? You're almost getting frustrated for them because they're staying stuck in the victim mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that a coach, sometimes you want to fix that for them. You want to get them out of it. Like, you want to do the work for them and say, look, you're worth it. Believe that you're worth it. But unfortunately, that has to come from within at some point. At some point, that individual has to take responsibility and realize that they are worth it to fight for their health. They are worth it to fight for their life. And you could be the best coach in the world. You could be Tony Robbins. But until that person realizes within themselves that they're worth it, you can only do so much. So you can give them the tools, you can help them out as much as they're willing to let you, but ultimately that has to come from within. And that's why transformation is so emotional. It's not as simple as eating less and working out, because some of the stuff is deep seated. It's childhood trauma, it's hard, scary stuff that's happened to people, and we just expect them to just man up and just do the work, when it doesn't always work that way. They have to find a way to release that, whether it's through therapy, life coaching, all kinds of methods that exist out there in our world, which are very, very helpful. So they just have to find what works best for them.
Mm-hmm. True say. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
the diet and exercise. It's the holistic person.
Yeah, so true.
So how do you keep your mindset strong while gaining weight? I know that you
uh,
said the second time was a lot easier than the first,
yeah.
but what were some things that you did the first time, and what are some things that you still do this time that keep you, whew.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think the thing that is a good distraction for me is my daughters. Back when I did it, they were very young, 2 and a newborn. And so now they're 9 and 11. They're a great distraction, but they also help me stay grounded. And they call me out when I'm being grumpy. they know when I'm being less patient with them. And so I'm like, okay, that's a check for me. I need to hone that in. But anyways, that helps me. But like I said, I continue to do meditation and journal on a gratitude list, and I feel like that stuff seems to help out. But what's so interesting is, before exercise was my therapy. It was my stress reliever. And now I don't have that outlet anymore. Food, in a weird way, has kind of replaced that,
Mhm.
but in a negative way, where temporarily you feel good, but then a few, hour or two later, you feel awful. And then it repeats that cycle of craving more of that food, which temporarily makes you feel good. It's like a drug. It really is, like multiple times a day, taking a hit of is some type of a drug multiple times a day,
Mhm. Mhm. So meditation and journaling seems to help. And your daughters.
Yes, for sure.
Wow. I can't imagine going from 0 to hero, like from being
Yeah.
fitness. I know you ran, what was it, like a half marathon, a marathon,
100 miles.
100 miles, and then you went to this. It was like 0
Yeah.
to hero. And it's like
Yeah.
no exercise, all the junk food.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That takes some spirit. That takes some spirit
Yeah.
there.
Thank you. Yeah, it was hard for sure, but I think that's the thing in life is you have to learn how to do hard things, because if you
Mm,
stay in your comfort zone, there's no growth. If you
mhm.
stay in your comfort zone, you just stay stuck there, and I feel like life becomes stagnant. And so you don't have to go run 100 miles or do what I'm doing, but it could be something small. Like it could be a 5K, or it could be going to the gym 5 days a week. It could be, eating vegetables, twice a day. Whatever it is that's hard for you, do hard things in your life, because that's where you'll grow. And so start out small, and then from there get the confidence to build those things, harder and harder things. And that's where you'll never stop progressing.
Now, when you say do hard things, a lot of that times it can be scary.
Yeah.
And when we're scared, we're either excited for it or we shun away from it. I
Yeah.
was wondering for you, is your natural inclination to run towards it in excitement?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the situation. Like I'll be honest with you. There's sometimes where taking a cold shower scares me, because I'm like, oh, I know that. I was like, I know what this feels like, and I know it sucks, and I know I should do it because it's healthy for me every once in a while, but I'm just gonna be a baby today and not do it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, so there's times where I don't run towards it all the time, but I strategically plan out, okay, what hard things I'm gonna do this year. Like for me, this year it's like, all right, run 100 miles, survive 2020, and then also do 55 to 40. Like that's pretty hardcore for me, to be honest with you. Next year I might take a year off and do a little bit of easier things, but still find some smaller ways to challenge myself.
Yeah. Oh, and now that you brought it up, how do you make yourself take a cold shower? Because I get the same thing.
I start off warm, and that's kind of how I convince myself to do it. Like, all right, I'll start off warm, and then I'll go cold for 30 seconds, then I'll go or warm for 30, and that way it's not as bad. You kind of sandwich the cold in there with the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if you still get the natural benefits if you switch between the two, because I feel like you're counteracting the cold that you got with the hot.
yeah.
I don't know too much about it yet, but
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of science of your body. What you're doing is you're forcing your body to adapt. And so it's got to change the mechanisms inside to adapt. So when you go cold, boom, that forces your body into a fight or flight. And if you go super hot from cold, your body's now got to switch back. And then if you keep going back and forth to cold, you'll burn a lot of energy. You'll use a lot of calories to do that, to be honest with you. So but to each their own. It's not like, hey, if I do this every day, I'll get a six pack,
you know.
but there are some benefits to it, and I think it's good just to mix it up and, like I said, surprise your body every once in a while.
Do you think the switching from hot to cold really repetitively is more calorie expending on your body compared to just taking a cold shower for longer?
Probably not. I would say the cold shower for longer would be harder on your body for sure. Like if you just started out cold and got in there for 3 minutes, I don't know how long the average shower is, 3 to 5 minutes, but
The
that
colder,
would
the
be pretty
shorter.
hard on your body. What's that?
The colder, the shorter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have this weird thing where if I'm ever to take a cold shower, you know that Sierra song where she goes 5, 4.
Yeah.
I do that. I stand on the side and I pray. I do a little prayer, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and
I love
go
that.
really fast, and I try to convince myself. I'm doing this little dance. I'm like, it's hot. Ooh, it's so hot.
Yeah,
And
there you go.
I'm trying to make it fun for myself somehow.
Yeah, I like that.
So with the no workouts now, what do you find with that extra time? What are you doing with that extra time?
That's a good question. Eating takes a lot of time because you do have to prep all the meals, and sometimes they're microwavable, or cold pizza, or cereal doesn't take a lot of time. But I do a lot more work right now. Things are really busy with my business because this whole thing takes a lot of manpower, not just me, but my whole team in place, especially when the journey back to fit starts and people are going to be doing that journey with me. They want to see the meal plans, the recipes, the grocery list, the workouts, like all of that. It's going to be available on an app. So we're busy every single day uploading the content, creating videos, and writing all the script for everything. And it's a lot of work. So there's always work to be done.
Awesome. So more content creation.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so excited for your January 1st journey. And it's going to be weird because I feel like it's going to be the first January 1st where not everybody is swarming the gyms if they're going to be at all. So now they're going to have you, they're going to have your books, they're going to have, your content, they're going to get fit with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what's really powerful about this journey is people have the opportunity to do the journey with, a leader in the industry who has kind of come down off their mountain, if you will, and start the journey with people at the same starting point. Instead of yelling at people from the top, with a 6-pack and 5% body fat, now you're at the bottom, like looking around like, all right, guys, let's do this together. Let's climb up together.
Yeah. That is so noble of you to climb down that mountain, to be in the race with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you still have a favorite food? And do you have a food that you never want to see again right now?
That's a good question. I'm really digging the combination. This is a weird combination, but I just recently started doing it, and I'm like, I could just eat this all day. It's macaroni and cheese with ground beef, and you combine those two things. So you make the mac and cheese, you make the ground beef separate, and you combine it with the grease, stir it up. If you want to gain weight, that's a very easy way to gain weight, is macaroni and cheese with ground beef with the grease included.
The grease? What do you mean the grease? Like
from the ground beef, like the extra fat.
Oh, not breaking it.
Yeah. So when you cook the fat, you leave the oil, the grease from the fat in there, and you pour that into the mac and cheese, and it's even tastier.
That already sounds very hearty. I don't know how someone can get bored of that.
Yeah, a food that I never want to see again. Honestly, it was some of the vegan. I did a vegan experiment where I ate dirty vegan foods, and I had some like vegan protein bars. I think my body didn't like those.
Really?
So
okay.
Yeah.
Not gonna throw those vegan companies on the bus, so we'll keep it hush hush.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, there's lots of good vegan food. Trust me. It's just these branded bars weren't very good.
Mm-hmm. I know that sometimes vegan protein can taste really chalky just because of their nature.
Yeah.
Some people like it, some people don't. Again, you can train yourself to like anything.
Yeah, it's true.
So now, do you still crave any food, or is it kind of just like sickening right now?
I still get the cravings for sure. It's just like I said, it's like Christmas every morning. So every meal is a cheat meal. So I don't get as excited. But when I'm starving, which is very rare because I don't ever let myself get that starving, food tastes so good. I crave chips, ice cream, like Ben and Jerry's is so good. So yeah.
Have you ever pitched your journey for Netflix?
Not yet, but keep your fingers crossed. We're hoping we might have some connections, but we'll see. That'd be very, very interesting. Yeah.
That is very exciting. That is so exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not trying to get, anyone's hopes up because it's a lot has to go into this, but it's, we'll see.
Gotcha. Well, we're keeping our fingers crossed because I think what you're doing is so like, it needs to be out there. It needs to be out there. It's like people have supersized me, but why not? Why can't we do yours, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Here's a weird question that's not to do with weight gain, but what do you do at a weight loss plateau? What would you tell a client who's at a plateau and they're trying everything, they're working out, they're feeling like they're eating clean, and it's like not going anywhere? Do they work out harder? What do they do?
That's a good question. So there's two things, and just so you know, I experienced this on my first journey, and I'm guessing I'm going to experience it again on my second journey. So it happens to everyone. It's because our bodies are amazing machines. First of all, they're very efficient at adapting. So they adapt to what you're doing and they find a way to burn less calories to do the same amount of work. So it's just the way we were designed. So it's a blessing, not a curse. With that being said, some people's definition of a plateau is just the scale, like the weight on the scale isn't budging, which I would argue that that's not the best form of measurement. I would go get your body fat tested using a DEXA scan and see if your body fat is actually going down and your lean muscle mass might be going up. And you can't tell that based off of a scale. So go get your body fat tested, because the goal really isn't weight loss, it's fat loss. Like, you want to lose as much fat as possible, but hold on to or build lean muscle mass, right? That's the ultimate goal. And the scale doesn't really tell you that. The second thing is like, okay, let's say you've done that and it's really not budging. There's a few different things. One is, like I said, your body adapts really well to the types of exercise you're doing. So switching up your form of exercise. So let's say you're more of, a cardio enthusiast and you love doing cardio. Try lifting heavy for a 3 to 6 week period and see if that changes things for you, where you start lifting heavy weights instead of doing tons of cardio. Also the intensity, the types of lifts that you can do, eccentric versus concentric contractions, to slow things down on one of those and speed things up. So like, let's say you're doing a squat, right? So you go down very slow for a 4 count, or like you said, a 5 count, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Yeah, and then you go up on a 1 count. So changing the tempo of your lifts can really make a big difference as well. So that can be beneficial. But then also changing up, your type of diet, like types of foods you're eating, the sources of protein, switch those up. The sources of fat and carbs, switch those up as well, and just be open to new experiments. Don't get stuck in the same rut of like, well, I'm eating the same amount of calories, I'm doing the same type of exercise, why isn't this budging? Sometimes you have to do extreme things to get your body to adapt to a new environment. And then when it adapts to that new environment, that's where you start to see change.
Okay. I think a lot of people get stuck in the fear of, if I try something different, I'm just going to blow up.
Yeah.
If I try something different, I'm going to go back.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's the cool thing, is this is the journey. There's no finish line. Okay. This is not going to be a 3-month or 6-month thing and then you get to relax the rest of your life. It's going to be a continual thing that you have to find solutions for. And that's the gift of life, is it's going to be a journey. You're going to have to find new ways to challenge yourself each year. That's why I like to do different hard things every year to challenge my body and my mind to adapt to new environments, to see what else it can achieve.
Well, speaking of new environments and new endeavors, what is next for you after this chapter of, maybe getting back to fit? What's after that?
It's a good question. So it's really far in the future, but I have some ideas for 2021 post Fit to Fat to 40. But I'm not, those things aren't ready to launch or release just yet. But there will be some things for sure coming up after this Fit to Fat to 40 journey that I'm working on to continue to motivate people and inspire people. And like I said, I'm on a mission to bring empathy to the fitness industry. So just be on the lookout for that. But for right now, I have to put all my attention and focus on this. Okay. Because if I don't, then this, won't be as successful, or won't be. I just have to make sure I get back to fit, right? That's the ultimate goal. Is if I give too much attention to something else, it takes away from this. But I do have some long-term vision plans for the future, so stay tuned.
Are you scared that you can't? Is there any fear that you can't get back to fit?
Absolutely. I'm older now. I'll be 40 this year, and I don't know what's going to happen. Just like I did it the first time, I didn't know I was going to be able to lose the weight. It was a true experiment for me. This time around, same thing. I am a little bit scared, but at the end of the day, it's a risk I was willing to take for the greater good. So just if I don't get back to fit in the 4 months I've given myself, guess what? The journey still continues. Like, I have the rest of my life to continue to get fit and challenge myself in different ways. So
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought for sure you were going to be like, yeah, no problem. I can get no problem back to fit.
Well, I can say that, but who knows? I don't really know. I can't really predict the future. My hope is that it'll be easy, but I doubt it's going to be easy at all. It's going to be really, really hard.
So who are your biggest support systems?
Biggest support systems. My daughters, of course, they're definitely cheering me on. They're so funny. They're in Hawaii right now with their mom. I do have a girlfriend, and she's my support system as well. And but you, Linda, you're my support system. Everyone that that is helping me along the journey, you're having me on your podcast, so that's helping me as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people in my support system.
Oh, I'm really honored. I know that you're super duper busy, so I was really surprised that you even took the time to answer. So that just speaks volumes to the type of guy you are.
Well, thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. And thank you for being patient with me. My life can be kind of hectic right now. So
I know. And on your journey, I mean, that's what empathy first is, right? Giving people the benefit of the doubt,
yeah,
letting them know, like, everybody is doing the things they are doing for a reason. It's not like they're out to get you. They're trying to hurt you. I don't think anyone is trying to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, what's the last takeaway message that you would like to leave anybody on their fitness journey?
Yeah, that's it. For me, it's about shifting your perception of what success looks like. And if you could learn how to fall in love with the process, which means eating healthy food and exercising or moving your body in a way that feels good to you, if you could just fall in love with that process and forget the results, take the results out of the equation for a second and just fall in love with the process of feeling good, treating your body good, because your body and you deserve to feel good and to be healthy. Then I promise you, once that shift happens, the results are going to take care of themselves over time as you stay consistent, because you're like, man, this feels good to eat real food. This feels good to move my body. And I'm doing it because I'm worth it. And I want to do it every single day because it's not a chore I have to do. It's because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel good about myself. And I could care less about the results. That's where the real change happens. And that's where the true lifestyle change happens.
I love it. Falling in love with the journey.
Yeah.
Also, yes, because once you're there, that there is only there for what, a day, a few seconds.
Yeah.
The journey there is like 10 times as long. And if you're not enjoying it, then are you enjoying your journey, Drew?
I'm trying to enjoy my journey. There's moments when I'm eating ice cream that I enjoy it a little bit. There's a lot of moments where it's freaking hard. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm doing the best I can, and I know that this is, I'm doing this to myself on purpose. And I knew it was gonna be hard, so I knew what I signed up for. But I know that come January, there's gonna be a huge shift, and I'm looking forward to that, to doing that journey with so many other people from around the world.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any piece of advice for those of us that may experience food guilt? If I ate something that I shouldn't have, or we ate at a buffet and we just gorged ourselves, or let's say I missed a workout, we missed a
Yeah.
workout and it's, man.
Yeah. The biggest thing right there is self-awareness, is being aware of why you did what you did, and just being aware of like, okay, this time I, was stressed out and I felt like I deserved it. Or this time was because I gave into peer pressure and I felt bad saying no to this person or that person. Or being aware of the reasoning is the first step. From there, the next time you're presented with that situation, hopefully you can more thoughtfully respond instead of react in those situations. Because if you don't thoughtfully respond and you just react every time, guess what? Your reaction most likely is going to be giving into the path of least resistance, which is eating the junk food or skipping the gym. So self-awareness is the key in those moments.
And how do we buffer the guilt or the shame or the things that we might feel?
That took me a long time to overcome that, to be honest with you. Just any kind of guilt or shame, whether it's from food, whether it's from the culture we grew up in, or religion, or the parents we had, or all kinds of things, right? Overcoming guilt is really, really hard. And I think the biggest thing, one, is to learn how to have empathy for yourself. And that's the biggest thing, is to have empathy for yourself and that self-awareness. And so that's what I would say in that situation.
How strange it is that we're able to have more empathy for others sometimes than ourselves.
So true. So true.
Yeah. Last few questions. Oh, what is a question you wished I asked you?
Man, you asked a lot of good questions, Linda. What's my favorite ice cream? That's the one I wish you would have asked.
So what is your favorite ice cream?
It's Ben & Jerry's Netflix and chill flavor. I like the dairy-free version.
What is the Netflix flavor?
It's got chunks of salty pretzels in there. It's got chunks of peanut butter and chunks of brownie, like really soft brownie.
Ooh.
And it is freaking amazing.
So it's crunchy, salty, and sweet, it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah. Crunchy, salty, peanut buttery, chocolatey sweet. Yeah.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious. And where can we find you, Drew? Tell us where your socials are, your books, your podcast, everything.
Yeah, my website is fat240, either 40 or FORTY.com, or my social media handles are all fit to fat to fit. Oops.
Awesome. Can you still hear me?
I knocked out my earbuds. I apologize.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. So guys, make sure you follow Drew Manning, fit to fat to fit, fit2fat240.com. I'll drop the links in the description below for sure. And my very last question to you is, would you be open to doing a follow-up interview on your way back to fit?
100%. Yep. Just go ahead and schedule that, and I would love to.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you so much for your time. I really respect you as a person, and I hope that we're able to keep in contact throughout your entire journey. I hope you have a wonderful night, the rest of your night, and
Thank you,
I hope
Linda.
you're able to continue your journey to fit with as humanly possible. I know you do wonderful things.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.